Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Give it one more minute and we'll start at 3 after. All right. It is 3 after the, 30. So let's get started. This is the July 6th, 2021 SIG Multicluster weekly meeting. Thanks everyone for coming. I have a feeling that it's going to be a relatively light attendance, given that in the US, at least it's the July 4th week. And I know some folks are still on holiday. But we have a pretty light agenda anyway, so this might be a relatively short meeting, unless anybody has anything they want to add at the last minute. I had a couple things to discuss today. The first one, I think, is really more encouraging people to take a look at this and share thoughts. But some of the Istio folks have created a PR for client Go leader election to provide a way to add precedence to a leader. And one of the motivators here is to basically make it so that if you have controllers spread across multiple clusters, you can give precedence to controllers running in a cluster for actions running in that cluster, basically giving some building blocks for multi-cluster failover for controllers. And I thought this one was pretty interesting. And it kind of comes to a broader point that I think we should probably, in this forum, start talking about is how do you actually, how do we think controllers and actions should be coordinated when running in multiple clusters? This is kind of a new thing, I think, for Kubernetes. All of the leader election constructs, everything are assuming that all of your controllers are in or acting on a cluster. But what happens, when you have controllers spread across clusters that, you're maybe coordinating some global state? I think the example highlighted in this PR linked in the meeting notes, for anyone who doesn't see it, is basically, I've got a cross-region controller. I've got a replica in the cluster that I care about, and I've got a replica in another region, and I want to give precedence to the local region. I think that makes a lot of sense. But what happens when you're really controlling global state or something outside of the clusters? What would precedence look like then? How do we want to coordinate that? So I don't have any good answers right now. I think there's some ideas that have been kicked around, but I wanted to throw that out as food for thought, and maybe something we can dive into more in the next week or so. But I think it's probably worth taking a look at this PR linked in the notes here, if anyone has any thoughts, because this is an interesting space.
Seems very relevant to our interests. So.
Yeah. And I think as we've seen more folks start to adopt multi-cluster services, the need for cross-cluster coordination is growing, for sure. So that's all I wanted to say on that. So that, again, this might be a very, very short meeting.
Does Is this a situation where we want to plan to like open this for larger discussion after we've given it a look?
Yeah, I was thinking that next week we
Okay.
could kind of maybe dive into some more ideas. So I'd also like to solicit anyone here who's got ideas and wants to discuss them next week. I think it would be pretty interesting to see what we can kind of come up with. One idea that I've had and I've heard from other people that I think might be interesting is, what if there was a library that let you easily use like the etcd raft algorithm across across clusters, maybe with CRD as backing storage or something. Could be interesting. But I'd like to see what we can kind of come up with as a group. And then, unless anyone has anything they want to add on that, I think the other topic, I think we've had a little bit of sporadic meetings for the last little while, and I think part of this is we are one of the few SIGs actually doing weekly meetings. So I think we meet maybe 2 regularly, and it might be easier to fill the agenda more consistently if we meet biweekly, as do most other SIGs. I think Paul suggested this in when canceling last week's meeting. I think it's a good idea. So we were thinking that we'd meet next week again, but then starting next week, when everybody's kind of back from holidays in the US, and from that point on, we just switch to biweekly, unless anybody objects.
I don't object, but I might be bothering people more on Slack.
Perfect. That's great.
Great.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I think that's the agenda. Does anyone have anything else they want to throw out there? All right. Well, again, super short meeting. So thanks everyone. I'll see you next week. And if please, anyone who has any ideas around how we should be coordinating workloads across clusters, I think it'd be good to write them down, share them next week, and see if we can kind of get something started.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone, and for those in States, happy 4th. Take care.
Bye.